Today we shall discuss the Rajput polity under the Mughals. As we all know, the Rajputs have played a very important part in the consolidation of the Mughal Empire. But the origin of the Rajputs is fairly obscure. During the time of the Guptas, many races from outside India came, like the Sakas, Hunos, etc. They got assimilated into the Indian life and culture, and they were called generally Kshatriyas. It is assumed that Rajputs formed one of those races, and they had been identified with the Kshatriyas and also called Rajputs because they belonged to the royal family. Their land of living is called Rajasthan, the land of the Rajas. We shall see how these ruling families began to operate, particularly during the Mughal period. They had occupied the places of modern days like Jodhpur, Bikaner, Jaisalmer, Jaipur, Dungarpur, Pratapgarh, Kota, Bundi, etc. We shall see only a few to understand the problems facing the Rajputs throughout the Mughal period. Rajasthan, it is surrounded by the Delhi Empire when they came, and on one side was Gujarat and the other side was Malwa. All these three exerted pressure on the royal families of Rajasthan, and finally when the Mughals came, the pressure became quite different with a different solution. In the 14th century or late 14th century, when the Delhi Empire was in ruins, gradually declining, the Rajput principalities began to assert their semi-independent role. In this, first the Chauhans of Ranthambore and the Marwar Raj family began to dominate, but gradually this was ousted by Mewar, which became the most prominent principality of Rajasthan. We'll have occasion to speak a little bit about Mewar, Rana Kumbha and Rana Sanga during the early days of the Mughal rule. The state formation of Rajasthan principalities more or less remains the same. First we have the immigration. For example, in Marwar, roughly about 7th or 8th century AD, and from that time onwards, it continued in an unbroken line. We have some documents of the village of Pali in Marwar, in which we see that the Brahmins there were very powerful and rich, with cultivated lands, making money from agricultural trade. These became so-called gurus of the Ranas. Below them were the aboriginal tribes, the Mer tribes, who at first allowed the Brahmins to do whatever they wanted, but then gradually they began to assert themselves. Over the Mers were the intermediaries called the Chaudhuris, who were the revenue collectors. When the mayors started their trouble, the Chaudharis and the Brahmins, some of the Brahmins left, but others called the Rajputs to come in. They established the right of Thakurai, that is of almost of zamindari, and from then on the state was formed. That is, there is always the aboriginal tribe, the middle level revenue collector, and then the clan brothers and blood brothers of the royal family. Therefore, there are problems of the Rajput states in the Rajput polity in two levels which were never been solved. One between the upper tier with the lowest, the aboriginal tribes, and far more important and crucial, the trouble between the brothers. As we shall see in the Mughal period, the second one becoming more important, because in some cases we see the aboriginal tribes helping the upper tier, the royal family, as happened in case of Rana Pratap in Mewar, which we'll see later. Now, in this situation, Mewar gradually asserted its role, conquered some of the places like Ajmer and other areas, and Rana Kumbha became a most powerful person. Rana Kumbha was, like other Rajput chiefs, a very cultured person, imbued with Neo-Vaishnavism. He wrote even books, constructed stone temples in which there are sculptures. The ruins of his palace and victory tower at Chittor still remind us. At the same time, although becoming a Neo-Vaishnavite sympathizer, he did not hesitate to go to war. And he was one of those who fought against Malwa, against Gujarat, against the neighboring Rajput states. Rana Kumbha's son Uday murdered him, obviously to gain the throne, one of the legacies of the problems of Rajput polity. And he was ousted by his son, that is the grandson of Rana Kumbha, Rana Sanga. Rana Sanga established his suzerainty almost all over Rajasthan, became one of the most important person in Rajput life, captured the ruler of Malwa, made him a prisoner. Even Ibrahim Lodi attacked him in 1519 and he could defeat Ibrahim Lodi very easily. Therefore, he established himself as one of the most powerful rulers, following the Rajput tradition of a semi-feudalized state. Here we come to the relation between Babur and Rana Sanga, because that led finally to the death of Sanga. When Babur was at the gate of India in the Punjab, it seems from the autobiography of Babur that there had been some correspondences between Babur and Rana Sanga, in which Rana Sanga proposed that Babur should attack Delhi and Rana would attack Agra. Babur blamed Rana Sanga for the breach of promise, Because when he attacked Delhi and won the Battle of Panipat, Rana Sanga had not made any move at all. After the Battle of Panipat, Rana Sanga realized that Babur is not going to go back like Timur. He is going to stay in India and create an empire, and therefore it is his duty to prevent this to happen. He called for a confederacy of other Rajput states, and many of them joined. Interestingly, one of the Lodi families also joined with 10,000 Afghan cavalry. Another, Mahmud Hassan of Mewat, also joined with some cavalry. And therefore it was an army of Rana Sanga composed of both the Rajputs and the Muslims. The objectives are two. One is to drive Babur out of India, and second is to put the Lodi into the throne of Delhi. Then Rana began to approach Agra, advanced towards Agra, and began to attack the forts of Depalpur, Gwalior, and Biana, which are the outer bastions of Agra. Babur sent a detachment to Biana, which was easily defeated by Rana Sanga, and Babur found that unless this problem is over now, could not be solved, then there would be a problem. Now he asked Humayun to hurry back, exhorted his leaders, the military commanders, most of whom were wanting to go back to Kabul. They did not want to stay in India. But Babur managed this time for them to stay and make a last stand, a last fight for the struggle of North India. The battle was fought at Khanua, battlefield of Khanua, in March 1527. It is not necessary for me to describe this battle. I will mention only the two features which had been introduced by Babur that showed how different was the polity of the Rajputs. Rajputs had remained in a semi-feudalized state, with emphasis on elephants and swordsmen. While Babur had learnt very quickly that the musket power introduced by Ottoman in 1516 battle was a very important thing. So he had brought two Ottoman commanders, gave them the charge of the musket. That is number one feature that is different from that of the Rajputs. The second feature, a tactical one, was to put carts in front, chained with some gaps, to make a shield for the musketeers to remain behind and to fire. This was never done in India. As a matter of fact, gunpowder was known in India from late 13th century. But it was never used in artillery or in musket fire. Therefore, this was one thing that Babur had introduced that was something new in India. Rana Sanga made a furious charge on the right and almost overwhelmed the left wing of Babur. But Babur managed to steady it with the reserves and then counterattacked by what is known from the days of Timur as Tulugma, the flanking movement of the furious cavalry charge that broke through Rana Sanga's swordsmen. Rana Sanga fled, but he was murdered a year later by his sardars who did not want to fight anymore. And the defeat of Rana Sanga cannot be described as a Hindu-Muslim fight, which has often been done. It cannot also be described as the Rajput bid for hegemony in northern India. As I have said already, Rana Sanga had Muslim army, Muslim leaders as well. One of the Lodhis was there, and the Muslims wanted Lodhi to go to the throne of Delhi. So therefore it was not simply a question of Hindus and the Muslim fight. Neither Rana Sanga wanted the hegemony of northern India. But the sudden eclipse of Rana Sanga quietened the situation. And when Humayun arrived back from Persia, he was told beforehand by the Shah of Persia that he should conciliate the Rajput zamindars, that is the Rajput Rajas. Abul Fazl tells us in his Aini-Akbari that Humayun made several matrimonial alliances with the zamindars. He did not make any specific comment about Humayun marrying a Rajput princess. This was left to Akbar. And Humayun's advice to Akbar was that he should conciliate the Rajputs. Akbar's matrimonial alliances are quite well known and need no repetition. But there are some misconceptions about these alliances. It has been stated that those Rajputs who gave their daughters in marriage, they gained promotion and power and prestige, etc. That is hardly true. Almost the same number of Rajputs, like Sujan Rai Hada, etc., who fought for the Mughals, they did not give their daughters in marriage to them, and they had gone up also in their mansabdari. So that cannot be true at all. But the important feature of the matrimonial alliances was that it was something new in its content. When Akbar brought these matrimonial alliances, therefore it appears from outside that there is nothing new in this. This kind of thing was already known, even between the Muslim rulers of Gujarat and Malwa with the Hindu Rajput princesses. In 1485, the Rana of Idar gave marriage of his daughter to one of such princes. So it is nothing new. Then what is new in this matrimonial alliances that changed the Rajput polity? The new thing was that Akbar, first of all, did not consider such marriages as a test of loyalty. But first we come to his first marriage. In 1564, when he was coming back from Ajmer, Raja Biharimal of Ambar, that is Jaipur, complained to him that the Mewat governor was harassing him, and the principal reason was that Biharimal's brother wanted Biharimal to be ousted, and he had joined the Mewat ruler. The same legacy of Rajput polity that continuing even during the time of Akbar. Akbar suggested that Bihari Mal should make a personal submission to him and give his daughter in marriage to him, which he did. Now, as a result of this his harassment was stopped, but there was something more. His son Bhagavan Das was taken into the service. He was given very responsible positions. For example, during the Uzbek rebellion, Bhagavan Das was made in charge of the guard of the royal ladies of the Mughal camp. He was also there in the battle of Haldighat against Rana Pratap. Bhagavan Das was one of the joint governors along with Abdullah Sultanpuri of Agra when Akbar left for Gujarat campaign. So therefore, there is a fundamental change between the earlier marriages and the marriage contracted by Akbar. Now those people who had given their daughters to Akbar, they are now taken into the service. Man Singh, for example, was one such, who became governor of Kabul, became governor of the Indus region, became governor of Bengal and Bihar, and was made the 7,000 Zat Mansabdar, the second person holding such a high post. The first one was Aziz Khan Koka. Now in Akbar's matrimonial alliances, particularly after the fall of Chittor, which we shall see, other Rajput rulers like Bikaner and Jaisalmer proposed personal submission and gave their daughters in marriage to Akbar. Akbar's matrimonial alliances we can divide into three types. From 1572 onwards to 1576, we see that the Rajputs are taken into the service, but they are not fighting. From the second stage is up to 1578, when Rajputs are taken into the service and they were asked to fight within Rajasthan. After 1578, the Rajputs were asked to fight outside Rajasthan on behalf of the Mughal state. The reason was that in 1580-81, there was the rebellion in Bengal and Bihar, supported by the mullahs who issued fatwas against Akbar. Akbar had practically left the orthodox ulema, started his mazhar and din-e-ilahi, and the ulemas are very unhappy. They called his half-brother Mirza Hakim from Kabul, and Mirza Hakim arrived in Punjab. Akbar therefore could not rely on the Irani and the Turani captains and rather bring the Rajputs into the fight itself. And they did fight and suppressed the rebellion. So therefore there is a difference, what we see between Akbar's matrimonial alliances with other such alliances happened earlier. We shall see Akbar's claim to sovereignty even over the Rajput states in relation to his relation to Mewar. Rana Pratap had ascended the throne in 1572. Akbar was busy elsewhere, but eventually he sent 3 envoys, including Man Singh, to Chittor for personal submission of Rana Pratap. That was the principal issue. It may be noted that Man Singh was not insulted by Rana Pratap. That was a later story. Next day, we shall see what happened after this. Thank you very much.